Hey everybody, this is Mark for The Gun Guy, and today we are talking about the Colt Single Action Army, the M1873, the Model P, the Peacemaker, the Widowmaker, the Equalizer. It goes by a bunch of names, but the name we're looking at today, the Taurus Deputy. So before we get a whole bunch of comments, Taurus, same thing in my book, okay? So don't need notes on how to pronounce it. Anyhow, today we're going to be taking a look at the Taurus Deputy. I'm going to switch back and forth just to trick you guys. We're going to unbox it. We're going to take a quick look at how to field strip it. We'll put in range footage, and then we're also going to look at the history of this gun. Because what the Taurus Deputy is really a clone of the Single Action Army 1873, which is considered by a lot of people to be the gun that won the West. You know, there's a saying that God created man, but Samuel Colt made them equal. So we don't want you to be equal. We want you to be better than everyone. So if you're liking our videos, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share, okay? And that way, when we put out content, you'll be one of the first to know about it. But let's get into the history of this gun right now. Colt Firearms was waiting basically for a patent owned by Smith & Wesson regarding the revolver to expire before they got into designing what would become one of the most iconic revolvers in history. In fact, it's still in production today. That particular patent, which was owned by Rollin White, expired on April 4th, 1869. And once it expired, Samuel Colt Firearms began designing what would become the Peacemaker. They turned to two of their in-house designers, William Mason and Charles Richards, who had developed a number of different revolvers and black powder conversions for the company. What their effort resulted in, the Single Action Army Model 1873. It was also referred to at the time as the New Model Army Metallic Cartridge Revolving Pistol, because apparently in the late 1800s they liked really long names for their guns. It was adopted as the standard issue pistol for the United States Army from 1873 to 1892. It originally started out with a 7.5-inch barrel and was assigned to cavalry. Later, this gun would get cut down to 5.5 inches, and it would be given to artillery units. Colt would also then put out a 4.5-inch barrel version of this gun for civilians. This was commonly known as the gunfighter model. Now, most of these became chambered in .45 Long Colt. There was also even a snubby or a snub nose, which had a 4-inch barrel, and this was known as the store keep. It had no ejector rod. Additionally, because Colt Firearms was really just trying to get this gun out there, they were encouraging people to get their guns custom designed, custom engraved. You could special order this gun with pretty much different kinds of sights and grips. So the cost of this gun at the time was $17, which sounds cheap, but you have to remember that the average daily wage at that time was about $1. So the gun cost almost a full month's labor. The Peacemaker, as it was known, came in at least 30 different calibers. The first one was a .44 Smith & Wesson, and it had 40 grains of black powder and a 255 grain bullet, which at that time was quite a powerful round. This particular version of the gun was known as the first generation, and it was made all the way from 1873 through 1941, and it was principally stopped for World War II production when Colt turned to more modern arms and semi-automatics like the 1911. There were various versions of the first generation Peacemaker, however. One was the flat top, which not too original. It included a flat top and had an adjustable rear sight. Another version of this gun was the Bisley, which was the standard issue single army action. However, it had a longer grip, a wider hammer spur, and a wider trigger. This was meant to basically give it more accuracy so that it could also act as a target gun. And it was named after the Bisley range in England. There was another version of this first generation, and that was called the Buntline Special. Now, this version kind of became popular because of folklore and myth. So it is reported that Wild Earp used this gun, and the Buntline had a 12-inch barrel. However, that's most likely a tall tale that he would use this gun a lot because, as you can imagine, drawing a 12-inch barrel from a holster could be challenging. Speaking of tall tales and you know, tales from the West, in one of our prior videos where we were talking about double single actions, I had mentioned that cowboys used to only carry 5 rounds for the most part. And the reason being that while the Peacemaker was a great gun, it was notoriously not drop safe. So if you had 6 rounds in it, there was a better than average chance if the hammer got bumped, if something fell on it, if the gun fell, it would go off. In fact, there's even a story about Earp playing poker. The gun fell out of his holster and hit the back of the hammer, and everybody in the bar pretty much ran for cover. So someone, however, said that, you know, they never carried a $10 bill in the 6 chamber, and that's just silly. It would gum the works. So what we're going to do is, when we go out to the range, I'm going to take a $10 bill and put it in the cylinder, and we're going to see if it messes up the guns. One of the reasons I probably feel okay doing this is the Taurus is really a great budget single action revolver. So if it does get gummed up, we can get it fixed, and I'm not worried about losing several $1,000s as if it was a real Colt. Another model was the Colt Frontier, and this was known as the Model P. Again, same basic model, 1873, but what was different about this particular gun was it was chambered in .44-40 Winchester. Now, why would they go ahead and do this? Winchester was a competitor, right? Well, because the Winchester Model 1873 rifle was one of the most popular rifles at the time. And cowboys and people wanted to be able to use the same cartridge in their pistol that they also used in the rifle. So that was kind of a big step forward in gun engineering. And actually today, when people compete in cowboy action, most of us, including myself, like to have our rifle chambered in the same caliber as our pistols because it makes it easier to carry those cartridges. Enter World War II. Production on these really stopped. However, due to the golden age of Westerns in the 1950s, with a special tip of the hat to Bat Masterson, Colt went back into production on these guns in 1956, and the second generation of these guns ran from 1956 to 1974. The third generation of these guns was made from 1976 to 1982, and there were a few small changes that occurred at this time. The barrel thread pitch, and they came up with a solid cylinder bushing, which replaced some of the removable parts from the first 2 generations. Then they came out with the 4th generation, which started in 1994. And that's actually the generation that you can buy right now. Now, they have these on their website for around $1,800, but good luck finding one for that price. If you go online, you'll see some of these Colts going for upwards of $5,000, which is one of the reasons that clones are becoming so popular, particularly with cowboy shooters and collectors. Most of the clones are, you know, Uberti, Piata, Ruger, and now Taurus entered this market with the Taurus Deputy. So since we've now done a quick history of the Peacemaker, let's open up the box and see what you get when you buy the Taurus Deputy. All right, so let's take a look at what's in the boxes. I guess we should have called this an unboxings. I don't know. Anyhow, so why are there 2 Taurus boxes in front of me? The reason is because I use my single actions for cowboy action. And for almost all of the competitions or categories that I compete in, you need 2 pistols. And I got these to replace temporarily my Ruger Vaqueros. Because one of the Rugers that I had while I was practicing with it, the front sight, which is soldered on, went flying off into the air. And there you have it. So I could compete. Taurus had come out with these guns, and I was pretty excited about it. The front sight flying off my Vaquero gave me an excuse to get these two. So we're going to open box number 1, and we will see a beautiful black single action. We're going to open box number 2, and lo and behold, it's the exact same gun. So when you're competing, you do want the same guns as a general rule, and you want them in the same caliber. Now, Taurus makes this particular gun in 45 Colt, as well as 357 Magnum, and the 357 Magnums would also obviously fire the 38 Specials. The other main variations on this theme come in the barrel length. These are the 4 3/4 barrel lengths. They also come in 5 1/2. So these would literally be, if you go back to the history section, these would be the gunfighters and not the artilleries. Even though if you saw my scores when I do compete, I think calling them gunfighters while they're in my hands is a bit of a stretch.
Look at that.
Steady as a rock.
Yeah, but I shoot with this hand.
But let's put this one away now, and we're going to go through the unboxing with just this one, okay? So it comes with the lock, and something from the FFL, where I got the gun shipped to, who was a super good guy. The ATF Youth Handgun Safety Notice. This is in most of them. It also comes with a personal firearms record. Now, this is the second time that we've had something like this come in, and honestly, the funny part is I think it's in only one of the boxes, but it also has a note from the ATF telling you what to do if your firearm is lost or stolen, because obviously you probably wouldn't figure out you should report that. The gun comes with this nifty Taurus lifetime limited warranty on it, so we'll take that off. Okay, and for almost all the new revolvers that I've had from Taurus, they come with this little orange piece of plastic, and so we're going to take that out. And the way that we have to take that out is to sort of break down the gun as if we were going to clean it. So what we're going to do on this particular model is you press in here and you will pull this forward. You'll then bring the hammer all the way back, and now you can remove the cylinder on this gun. And we will take that off. And for those of you who wish to see, the chambers are empty, as we would expect with a brand new gun. And we're going to just kind of slide that back in. There we go. All right, so you just have to make sure that the cylinder is seated really well for this rod to come in all the way. And again, this is, in my opinion, probably the biggest drawback on this gun. I don't know why they just didn't make it that you could extract it completely. We'll do one more time just so that everyone has it. Pulls out nice and easy. You can take it out. Drop it back into place with a hair of fidgeting, right? You can close it, depress this, bring the guide rod in, but again, it just needs a little bit of fidgeting to make it fit. So there's a little bit of play there. And still not 100%, so There we go. It helps if you cock the hammer all the way back. That seems to put the cylinder into a place that it's going to work. Anyhow, so now that we got rid of that, and we've pretty much covered how you field strip this. So that is how you field strip it. Here is the little button to press. You pull the rod forward, and then you can take the cylinder out and clean it. Now, in regard to checking this gun and clearing it, if we wanted, you can't just open this and look, because the cylinder is locked. This is a bit like the original Colt, and this is a 4-click gun. So there's a big conversation in cowboy guns about 4-click versus 3-click. The 4-click is the original. That was in the 1873, and they say that each click is for one of the letters C-O-L-T. So we have click 1. This would be what was known as the safety, right? So this was a quarter cock, right, or a half cock rather. And this was meant to ensure that back in the day before a transfer bar, and this gun does fortunately have a transfer bar safety, which means you could load it with 6 and you'd be fine. But prior to that, you would have it half cocked and or quarter cocked, and it would prevent the hammer from sitting on the chamber. 2, now you can check the gun, right? And you can see if it's cleared, you can load it, and you can also, using the ejector rod, right, eject any cartridges after they're shot. You then have 3 and 4. So this is a 4-click gun. So this is a 4-click gun. You have fixed front sights, and you also have fixed rear sights, but they're channeled. And you can probably see it a little bit better right there. All right. The overall length on this gun, which is the 4 3/4 model, is 10 1/4 inches. If you were to get the 5 1/2 inch model, it is 11 inches and some change. The overall width on the gun, principally due to the cylinder, is 1.65 inches. The overall height on the gun is 5.11 inches. And unloaded, this gun weighs in at 40.5 ounces. And the larger version of this gun comes in at 41.6 ounces. There is a 1/16.5 twist on the barrel. The frame is steel, and the barrel and cylinder are both alloy steel. Now, this finish is called polished black, and that kind of makes sense because it looks like polished black. Now, one of the things that I'm not the biggest fan of is that they do put the Taurus Deputy logo engraved in the barrel, along with the 38 Special 357. I don't mind the 38 Special 357. Not the biggest fan of having a Deputy engraved in the barrel, but again, it's not the worst. I think it's actually a really pretty finish on this gun. The grips, I'm pretty sure, are just plastic, but they feel good in your hands, so there's not really a, you know, it doesn't feel bad. Also, you can see that this gun does have a transfer bar right there. And what a transfer bar basically does is it makes sure that if your finger is not on the trigger and something were to hit the back of the hammer, the gun would not discharge. So this makes it what you would call drop safe. All right, so let's do a quick trigger pull on the single action. So we've got nothing because we forgot to do it. All right, so let's do a quick trigger pull on this gun. 2 pounds, 11.2 ounces. So that's really pretty nice. £3 pounds, 4 ounces. £2 pounds, 4.7 ounces. So really, really not bad, particularly for a budget gun. The main things with single actions are really cocking the hammer and pulling the trigger. So the single action refers to your trigger pull is only going to do one thing, and it's going to release that hammer. So the important part on this, or you know, one of the things that allows you to shoot quicker is how smooth the hammer comes back. And on this particular gun, I'm just going to be quiet. You're welcome. And you can hear it almost grinds, right? So it's rough. Now, it should still get the job done, but it doesn't particularly feel good in the hand. So now I think it's a good time to compare this to the Vaquero. And you can see that my Vaquero is a little bit bigger, and this gun operates a little bit differently. So this is not a 4-click gun. This gun, to check and clear, you simply have to open the loading gate, right? And this gun is clear. And as I was saying, to remove the cylinder on this, okay, all we do is do that, and this comes out completely, which, in my opinion, just makes this a much, much easier gun to assemble and disassemble. So maybe not, we'll see. Whoop. All right. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So again, I think that's a lot easier than the Deputy, but in the Deputy's defense, the Deputy cost literally half of what the Ruger cost, all right? But if you listen, right, that is much smoother. So you can single hand cock this much easier and quicker than you can this. If you practice, you could probably do about the same speed, but this is going to be a lot smoother. So I guess the only reason that I pointed that out is the Vaquero is probably, when push comes to shove, a higher quality gun, but the Taurus, for the money, will get the job done, right? I guess it's do you really need a Mercedes to get to the store, or will a Honda Accord do you just as good? So that's the metaphor I'm going with. Apologies to all car manufacturers and car people. And that's really about it for this particular gun. What we're going to do now is we'll take it out to the range, we'll shoot it, and we'll put some footage in there, let you see how it does, and give you feedback on that. But again, the finish on this gun is really, really pretty. I do like this finish. The only negatives, as I said, I don't like the engraving on the barrel. I don't like that the rod does not come out when you remove the cylinder, and it's a gritty action. But that might loosen up too when we shoot it. So let's find out. Take this. Let's see. One. Uh-oh, here we go. It survived.